Mary Ann.
Thank you. Can you all hear me? Good. One of the things that I wanted to say to all of you is just one particular word, which is humanitarian. I think one of the incredible things about our generation is that we're not, and you've heard this from all the speakers today, we're not categorizing that humanitarians are just philanthropists, humanitarians are just social responsible investors, humanitarians are just conscious capitalists. We're really taking a stand that it takes all of these things, and we as individuals can use all of these tools to be involved and to make those kinds of differences. But I also like to toss the responsibility back at us to really consider one thing, which those of you who have heard me speak before know that I keep saying again and again, but it's truth. And that is, we are the first generation that has absolutely no excuse for ignorance. We can get on the internet and see exactly what our money is doing. We get on the web and see how we're affecting this investment is causing a sweatshop over there, or if we do this investment over here, it's going to make a difference in that capacity. We have choices. Those of us that have trust that we've inherited, we can choose to blindly just let it keep us going along and having a nice, comfortable life, or we can actually get in there and take on the responsibility to understand what we're really invested in. I'd love to share with you something that is a personal experience that I had. And that was, I was blessed with other people in the Memnosyne Foundation to negotiate the first alliance in 300 years between the Hopi and Navajo nations. But one of the things that came out of that was I also learned what some horrible coal companies and people were doing, poisoning the water through the way they threw coal through it. I walked around the villages, I saw people dying of cancer. I got to see the crops dying and not being able to grow. And then I had a wake-up call, and after we worked so hard, made this alliance, I came back, I finished my degree in business, and I started really reading what my trust said, and I was shocked to discover that I was invested in those same companies. And what that did for me is it made me realize that it's not enough to go out there and end up doing what we can philanthropically. We have to see what we're doing with our other hand as well. And so those of you that decide you want to be a philanthropist or a humanitarian, which all of you are who are sitting here today, I really encourage you to say, well, how did I get this money that I'm making an impact with? And to really take the responsibility to say, what can I do with that? And how can I consciously move my money in a way that is going to actually complement what I'm doing? And even move further beyond that to say, how can I use both to strategize solutions? So after I found that out, I went back and I immediately tried to use my stand as an individual investor. I got other people that were invested to go and try and fight this, and unfortunately, it didn't work. So we sold what we did, and we ended up putting it in social responsible investments. Now I'm working with different for-profits and nonprofits to end up doing things around the world that are actually collaboratively making a huge difference. And I hope one of them, which is the Giordano University and the Memnosyne Foundation, Green World Restoration, will be bringing education to some of the poorest places and communities in the world that have no access to education. And I'm just tossing this out at you all so that you can see how you can use the tools, what you're already invested in, what you're philanthropically doing, combine them, plan with them, strategize with them, so that you're not compromising one or the other, but you're actually making a massive impact. So what I'm going to ask you to do today is to really take on the responsibility as individuals. Really take on the responsibility to say, it's not just enough that I'm making a donation here or I'm trying to make a change over there. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to look at my portfolio now that I've inherited or that I built on my own. And then I'm going to try and see what it's actually doing. I'm going to Google all those names that I receive every month, and I'm going to see how it's affecting people's lives. And if I don't agree with the ethics of it, then I'm going to do something about that. Because unless we as a generation actually take that responsibility in a big, broad, open-eyed way, matched only with an open heart, we are not going to be able to make those differences. It's going to be like, somebody who's pouring water out of the boat while there's a hole and we're not paying attention to the hole that's in the boat. So we need to really look at the whole picture. And in that line of thinking, what I'm asking all of you to do is to take a pledge. Because it's going to actually send a message to people beyond this room. And I love what Rachel suggested, which was to try and have this pledge, actually tweet it, If you have tweet, if you can put it on your Facebook status, get other people to notice that you're taking this pledge. And all the pledges, and I know we can have someone show it over here, and we're gonna be passing them out now. All this pledge says is that you're going to use your financial and social influence to take full responsibility for your role in this world. Because that is something that each and every one of us in this room can do. Each and every one of us is in that top 1% of the world. Each and every one of us has the capacity to change lives just by looking at what crosses our desk. Last, I'm going to leave you with one little thought, or actually one little short story. My father was the CEO of 7-Eleven, and I was a little kid at the time. And he came home one day with all these papers, and I looked at it, and there's a list of countries' names on one side. And on the other side, there's a list of things like 5 cents, $7.50, $20. And I asked him what it was for, and he said, I want to manufacture a product. My shareholders have asked me to do this. And I said, so what are you going to do? He said, well, they told me I have to do it for this X amount of money, because it went all the way up to $25, so $7.50 a day. And I said, well, why don't you go in there and look at who's asking for 10 cents and give them what your shareholders have already approved. And then your shareholders happy, and you're changing a bunch of lives. And I'll never forget that my father, who was this very empowered man, very philanthropic man, it never occurred to him. And he got down on his knees and he looked at me in the eyes and said, thanks for reminding me what my real job on this earth is. And so that's what I'm wanting to ask each of you. As you make your investments, as you handle your money, look in the mirror each day and ask yourself, what is my real job on this earth? What am I really doing? And make your decisions from that. Because just like my father, there are many times when something, and just like myself now, just like each of you, there are many times when there's a simple decision, and it doesn't compromise anything in your business. But just by being aware, you can change hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives. So thank you for your time, and please do sign this pledge. We're going to end up taking all those who give us authorization to put your name on it. We're going to put it in the New York Times. We're going to put this around the world because we want people to see that this generation is taking a stand. This generation is going to make a difference, and not just because we're writing a check or doing what's already been done. We're going to make a stand because we're going to be consciously aware of how we live our lives and impact others around the world. So thank you.